So on the one hand, the Dogon give us the idea of masculine, feminine in relationship, in balance, as reflections of the larger cosmos. But all African systems, especially the Kemetic systems, and especially the Twa that give birth to them, stress that the essence of both manhood and womanhood, and of the masculine and the feminine, the essence of that is being tied to that which governs the cosmos, the force that drives the cosmos. And that force in Kemet was called the rudder of heaven and the beam of earth. That force that they called Ma'at and that they defined as truth. And so they saw through the order of truth, that being the basis for cosmic and earthly order. And it was particularly through the living of the truth. And this is the real key thing. When we analyze Ma'at in the Kemetic context, we are usually analyzing Ma'at within an intellectual concept. So we'll talk about its harmony, truth, balance, right order. But within the Kemetic conception, it is the idea of speak truth, do truth. That this is the real way in which we harmonize ourselves and define ourselves as males and females, masculine and feminine, as human beings. And so all African cultures are grounded in this notion that the highest expression of humanity, the essence of being a human being, is to adhere to the truth, to speak it, to think it, to do it. And so in African conceptions, the root of this is tied to the idea of the first ancestors. African people generally believe that the source of the truth derives from the first ancestor, who was the one who received the truth from God. And so the first ancestor we know in human history are the Twa. And then in each African society, they would have reference to a primordial ancestor who was the source of their truth. So in ancient Kemet, as we've seen, the primordial ancestor and ancestress was Asar the Set, because they are the founders of ancient Kemet. And so they are the source of the wisdom, the source of the truth, the source of justice. As we've seen, Asar was a real human being. But for humanity at large and for Africans in general, it's the Twa. And it is from the Twa that we have the origin of the concept Ma'at. As I point out in the integration trap, is Albert Churchward described, and I checked this with Obenga, and he said, he accepts it. Churchward made the point that the first language that humans spoke was the Twa language, and I'd be specific. It's the Kung language made up of clicks. And the Kung language, or the San people that live in the Kalahari Desert, speak a monosyllabic language made up of clicks that once lost can never be recovered because it's the root language. And so you'll see in South Africa a number of Africans who do use the click in their speech. My name, T'Shaka, is really Shaka. Shaka. It's a click. You know what I mean? It's the oldest language. And then he makes the point, from this comes this monosyllabic language that it gives birth to the concept of ma'at, which in the Kung or Chua language is called Masuri, Maassouri, meaning straight, upright, just, and true. Or Ma'u, Maau, you know. Now, why would they be the source of this? Well, first, they are the most truthful people on the planet. They live the truth. They are also closest to God's truth because they are the first human beings. And they're close not just because they're the first, but because, as they say, they're pure people. They're not defiled by falsehood. And this is the real key thing. See, I'm reducing ma'at to its essence, truth. We can go into all the rest of this, and harmony is certainly in balance. We talked about that. That's important. But it's truth that it's its essence. If you boil ma'at down to one sentence, it's speak truth, do truth. That's it. And that's why we do the sixfold stages. And that's why we're going to get into this mastery system. It's about being. You don't know nothing if all you know is to repeat something. If you don't be what the truths that you don't know it. Truth comes from living it. You hear me? Western thought is teleological. You ain't heard these terms because all you're doing is confined to white supremacy. They're in decline, but it's white supremacy. But they're teleological, which means they're utility-based, useful-based. What is good for them is what works. And what really works for them is power, and they deify power. Now, power is important, so I'm not saying you throw that out the window. Oh, no. Oh, no. But for you and I, it should be just power, and it should be a power that overpowers unjust power. And that's the battle we're in now. Right now, it's a battle to win minds and spirits and hearts and souls. But I'm telling you, it's more than that.